It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show.
Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 360. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
Hello.
Godra.
Hi.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hello.
We have had an evening with a conundrum of issues, and we're now getting to record. So stupid story time. Like, I have been, I've had this stack of hard drives for years, where basically I habitually pulled a hard drive every time I moved machines and just stuck them on the shelf behind my desk. And I'm finally going through them and realizing that like all but one or two of them are dead drives. And when I boot most of them up, they make horrible grinding noises. But on one of these drives, I found a whole bunch of screenshots that I thought didn't exist. So basically, like, I have this screenshot archive of like every game I've ever played, and I keep track of them, and it's, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of screenshots. And there's this era from Burning Crusade through early Wrath that I just didn't have any screenshots for, and I didn't know why. And it always bugged me, like there was just this missing chunk of screenshots. Like, did I just not take screenshots? No,
that doesn't sound right.
No. I am guessing I deleted them for my own sanity. Because most of the screenshots that I took during that period of time were CYAs of conversations I was having as I was having to police something either regarding the raid or regarding the guild.
The joys of being a leader.
I found the entire sequence from that dude that took BOE boots from our raid. Then we talked to the other raid leaders, and he got kicked out of his raid and was begging us to make good on it. You know, like I don't know if you remember the Karazhan split, Thalen, when drama caused the Karazhan run to split in half, and then one half was successful and the other half was not.
I think I vaguely recall that. I was blessedly like not directly involved with that one.
I think maybe you were one of the people that I recruited for Team 2 of Karazhan, maybe. I don't know.
That sounds likely.
Because I know Sank and Dagger were on that team too. But yeah, like, so I found a whole sequence of somebody giving me an earful of, because their half of that Karazhan team never formed a viable raid. So yeah, like I apparently I deleted these on purpose. Like,
yeah, I can't blame you.
I don't remember deleting these on purpose, but like, yeah, no, like it's just a directory full of raid drama. I saved it just in case I ever want to go back and revisit them, but it was a thing. So last night was like 5-hour long live letter.
7 hours long.
Madness.
Okay. It was long. And part of the length is the fact that like a live letter like that, they're live translating.
Yep.
So there's a lot of something is said, and then I think her name's Amy.
Yeah.
You know, tries to take the thoughts and put them into English. And sometimes the thoughts don't neatly cram into English.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing that happened last night is we got to our first low detail preview of everything that is changing for the classes. And it seemed like maybe healers weren't fully done yet, and Bard supposedly is not fully done yet, but
What gave people this impression?
some comments that came out after the live letter from Yoshi P is that some of the classes are still in flux. And Bard specifically is one of those.
Checks out.
So I think that was more for people who were complaining that bards don't get access to their own buffs.
Yeah.
I mean,
But there's some interesting stuff going on.
I would
Scholar
guess
Apocalypse.
that I would guess that as of right now, they are probably like 80% sure, like 80% lockdown on classes.
It's a lot of moving parts,
Yeah.
and like we're not very far out, so I would
6
expect
weeks? Is that right?
something like that. It was November 19th is the beginning of Head Start.
Yeah.
I feel like the number of things that changed after the media tour for Shadowbringer can be counted on like maybe one hand.
Yeah, I'd be real surprised if there was anything beyond like maybe some mild balance tweaking.
I mean, it's real
Left to
sad
do.
that Scholar kind of was left alone.
Well, yeah, I was actually going to ask. I saw a lot of my Scholar people on Twitter decrying everything. What was up with that? Like, why are Scholars so sad right now?
It's the same thing that happened when the Astrologian came out.
Yeah, they feel
People
like
were
they're going to
oh
be.
no, there's a new healer.
Yeah.
Differentiation between healer classes is low enough that now we're going to be obsolete.
Yeah. Well, because one of the things that they did is they split barrier healers and classic healers, and Scholar will be competing with Sage as barrier healer for the barrier healer slot in an 8-man. So
And Sage is a freaking Gundam.
Yeah. Basically, like, I think there's also a lot of scholars have some memories of when scholars were bad.
I mean, this has happened more than once.
Mm-hmm. And
Tends to be at the start of an expansion.
yeah.
mm-hmm.
Scholar trust is at a low ebb, let's say, and being like scholar trust is low, and then also, hey, the Sage is coming out and looks awesome, and is also competing for the same role as Scholar. Probably doesn't do a lot to make Scholar players feel great. That having been said, there's a bunch of stuff that healers got that I think that obviously Scholars are also getting, and I think will be fine.
I will say, even right now, I greatly prefer healing on a Scholar as to healing on a White Mage, because I'm going through this process of leveling all the things, and I have leveled Scholar all the way to 80, and now I am working up Astrologian and White Mage, and I would far rather do raid healing on Scholar than on White Mage, which is weird, but...
White Mage is still my preferred healer, although it's not the first one I ran up. I ran Astrologian first and decided I liked White Mage better.
Astrologian is a little salty too, because there's a lot of people that liked Nocturnal Stance, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
AKA I'm a Scholar.
Yeah.
I'm a Scholar with cards. But like, there's a lot of cool things going on. Like, I think I'm gonna like the state of tanking. They're trying to like normalize some of the special abilities so that like they happen on 60 seconds or 120 seconds, and then spend all night talking about things that weren't aligning to those.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought everything they talked about aligned to those except Red Mages and Bolden.
And there's a Black Mage cooldown too that's, I think, 90 seconds.
Okay.
And there's something for the tanks that's 90 seconds as well.
I think their big defensive cooldown is still like 90 seconds, but that's not quite the same thing.
Right.
I'm interested to find out exactly how this, if you properly time your defensives, you get to do stuff.
So clearly,
We'll
you need to press the button when the little thing pops up to do a perfect defense.
I mean, I think this is basically a way of bribing tanks to actually use their defensives.
Maybe.
I'd like to point out that Dark Knight is already bribed pretty well for using their defenses.
I really hope Dark Knight gets reworked at least somewhat, as in the levels that you get things, because not getting the short cooldown defensive until 70 really hurts.
Yeah.
It makes Dark Knight incredibly squishy until 70.
Yeah.
I'm all about the paladin swords, all the swords.
I mean, that ability was already really cool, so adding follow-ups to it that look even cooler is a nice touch. I'm not entirely certain we needed a new version of Holy that makes people even more blind.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm absolutely going to have to do the thing where I turn down raid, like graphics for everyone other than me.
I already do that. Like I have party graphics set to full, but I never have Alliance graphics set to full.
So a lot of the new animations are really over the top.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard.
Knight, the Salted Earth.
Salted Earth is nice. No more macroing it.
Saying, yes, even Yoshi P macros this. Like, yes, of course, because everyone did.
Yeah.
Because ground targeting.
The utility of ground targeting your tank damage ability is not actually that large.
No.
I mean, the number of situations I could, like, have wanted to put it somewhere other than at my feet is real limited. Like, maybe if there's ads coming in.
Ad spawning is like my only one.
Yeah, like if an ad is going to spawn from a specific direction, then maybe.
The thing, though, is almost all the time that's going to happen, you have plenty of time to be there ahead of time.
Yeah.
So you could even still do that if you wanted.
The whole thing about ground targeting getting a limiter to where you're not going to be able to, like, if you turn it on, you're not going to be able to place it out of the range. That could be really good because, like, I run a lot of Praetorium and I get tired of trying to ground target those cannons because as you're running along, it's always targeting somewhere out in the purple where you can't place it. And if I could just turn that on and it's just going to put it to the furthest extreme at all times, and I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Like one of the weirder things is that high quality is going away for most things.
Well, for gathered stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically raw crafting materials. There won't be high quality versions of them anymore.
I'm mostly okay with this.
Yeah. I mean, it'll save me some retainer space. I was mostly downgrading high quality stuff to normal anyway, which I think that's why they're doing it, is because on the whole, high quality versions of things aren't worth any more than normal quality, and people tend to just go ahead and downgrade them to save on space. So just ditch it. I think a lot of people use pick clean regularly because, more is better.
Yeah. Well, and there's never been a time when I crafted something that I didn't tick the use all rarities.
Yeah. I do wonder how they will update all the various, class quests that are asking you to bring X high quality something or other.
Well,
like,
they said they were going back and
30 times as many normal quality. What's going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know. They said they were going back and changing all those things, but I would imagine they're just doing it one-on-one or one-for-one, but then that makes a lot of the quests easy.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to know is how's Mooch going to work?
I mean, right now we have the one Mooch that requires a high quality, and then the other Mooch that you have to spend some GP, but can do any version. So maybe they'll just ditch one of the Mooches, and they'll just be won't require high quality anymore. Yeah, which would be nice. I mean, they already removed the requirements for a lot of those things to be high quality to turn in, because I was getting caught up on some of the giant fishing, Brewer's Beacon and all that.
I want to know what the hell the Warrior Fellcleave somersault thing is. Because, like, it was at the end of 3 Fellcleave, so I don't know if that just is a thing that happens or if it's a new ability. It looks cool. Awesome. It looks freaking great. You go all Blanca on the target. Monk looks really cool.
Yes.
Like, Monk is a class that I did not expect to like, but I have really enjoyed. So I don't know, like that's the problem with this mission of leveling all the things to 80 is, for the most part, every class that I have played, I have decided, you know what, I like that quite a bit. That I don't really have a clue what I'm going to main, and like, I mean, obviously I'm probably going to main Paladin, but like I have no idea what DPS is going to be my quote unquote main DPS. Possibly Machinist. Machinist largely looked untouched, but it was in pretty good shape already.
It looked like they maybe replaced some things. It didn't look like they'd done a whole lot to it.
Yeah, I mean, we get a chainsaw, I think.
Yay.
And a shotgun.
Dragoon doesn't have to worry about pressing the Will of the Dragon.
Like legitimately, Blood of the Dragon and Enochian going away is like the best thing ever.
It's a very minor thing, I'm gonna say, but yes.
I hated trying to keep up Blood of the Dragon because like it was just another thing I had to look at. ease it up. I mean, it was fast to put it right back up because but it was just a fiddly thing that you had to keep. It was a button that you had to push.
I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't seem like they did a lot to Dragoon.
They did whatever the 2 dragon thing is. That was kind of cool.
I actually, so what's the 2 dragon thing?
It appears
that they've done something into their AoE rotation.
Yeah.
Where
like these 2 intertwining red and blue dragons like go towards the target. I mean, dragons may be the wrong word. It's more like a Leviathan serpent kind of looking thing. But like they're intertwined as they're going towards the target. I want to know what the hell the red mage finisher thing is that like puts all the rings out in front of them.
If not for the fact that Scathe is already an ability that exists on the black mage class and is bad, I would have thought it was that because that's what it looks like in FF12.
Verse Scathe.
Verse Scathe.
I mean, controversial opinion. You know what red mage didn't need?
More buttons.
Another button on a combo you hit once every 30 to 45 seconds.
I mean, it's true.
Like, red mage could have probably done for having their melee turned into a single button that shifts to multiple buttons.
Literally every class.
Yeah.
Literally all classes.
Yeah, I'm thinking about my red mage bar is like, oh, where am I going to fit whatever that is now?
And at least Gunbreaker got some buttons removed.
Lucky.
Button removal I'm excited about.
I mean, that was one of the, in that case, is exactly like that. It was a button you pressed 3 buttons you pressed once every minute.
Yeah.
And a lot of people had figured out ways to macro it as well.
I'm a little surprised at that one.
I mean, we've avoided it up to this point, but I feel like the belle of the ball is Summoner.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I've been burned before. I feel like
I think it looks real promising.
I feel like
Yes.
I've described that exact design on this podcast in the past. So
It's kind of true.
vindication.
So
I mean,
Yoshi P listens to our podcast.
Hey,
Clearly.
yeah.
Confirmed.
True.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense though. Like that was the thing they were missing was actually summoning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, yeah, like the thing that has been true in Final Fantasy games full stop is that your dedicated summoner character is kind of a disaster because you're like, all right, I'm going to bring out big summons and either I'm going to run myself out of MP or I'm going to sit around and do not much or cast some other random spells that I happen to know.
Right. Like basically you're going to do one really cool thing per fight and then do some sort of weak black mage spells.
My work here is done.
I feel like that's not an entirely fair characterization of summoners through the ages.
I mean, most of the cases that I can think of, it suits. Like, what's the one that you're thinking? Like, which one? I mean, okay, Rydia.
We got Rydia.
I mean, I was going to start there, but summoners started in FF3 where they had the same spell slot system as us black mages did. So mostly they were just better.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean is that they're either a better black mage because they're black mage plus. They're either a better black mage because they're either black mage plus big huge summons. They're a better red mage because they're a combination of white and black magic plus big summons.
Mm-hmm.
Or they only do the summon thing and either have weaker spells or no spells, in which case they're pretty bad.
But like FF5 is a strong caster that doesn't really fit in either of those. It's just the best. It's a fairly good toolbox with some strong offensive abilities.
Yeah, FF5 is the main place where they don't do that because, Rydia, she summons and she uses black magic. And then like Garnet and Yuna, they summon and they use white magic. In some case,
But also like going back slightly less far, there's a summoner in FF11, which the initial design was clearly based on somewhat. Like the ARR summoner.
That makes sense, yeah.
Was based somewhat on the FF11 summoner.
Yeah, but the FF11 summoner never actually summoned their stuff.
Yeah, they did. I mean, you had avatars you kept out at all times. And then also you had, what did they call them? Grand summons?
Yeah, you never wanted to use those. You never wanted to use the big ones.
Elementals, apparently.
Like, yeah, you kept the avatar out all the time.
And like, yeah, there were a number of them. Like Carbuncle was the one you started with, but you could also get others like Fenrir and some others.
I'm just super on board for having Diamond Carby.
I am curious what Carbuncle Glamours they're going to have available. I'd imagine they're going to let you use the Eggies because they exist.
Mm-hmm.
But
Why?
Why would you want to use Chicken Nugget?
I don't know. Some people
see,
might be
hilariously,
attached.
Chicken Nugget is like the only one of those I actually kind of like.
It's the one that actually kind of looks like its actual character. I don't think the other ones look anything like the primal.
Yeah.
I mean, Ifrit Eggie is basically shaped like a third of Ifrit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like what seems to be a mechanic of fire off a big summon, it does a big move. Your basic spells are changed to match that summon until you switch to a different summon, which you do on the regular.
I have to admit, one of the things I'm very curious about is how they're going to handle how this class works prior to getting
Level 90.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say level 70. That's the first time you get one of the big summons that in the live letter you needed to do one of the big summons, either Bahamut or Phoenix, to recharge your smaller summons.
Right.
Like those are what gave you access to Ifrit, Titan, and Garuda.
Yeah, and those are kind of like those are directly connected to the story quests about for that job. So moving them earlier would be difficult.
So I suspect they're going to have some sort of ability that basically refreshes your summon gems or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's got to be something.
That's maybe doesn't involve Bahamut and then gets replaced with Summon Bahamut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't they say they're taking away the dots too?
They did.
Uh-huh.
Design space.
I mean, the problem is because of the way that dungeons are run, summoners just suffer at burn in their current implementation, and like hopefully this is going to give them burn.
I mean, there is a very dot reliant class in this game currently that isn't a summoner, and it doesn't seem to have as much of a problem with Bard. This would be Bard.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, Bardo AoE is mostly good enough that it's you're okay if you don't manage to get if you can't put your dots on everything.
I was shocked
Also,
at how
if you
good
can, you can spam Rain of Arrows or whatever it's called.
like I was shocked at how good at AoE Monk is. I was not
This is a
prepared for
recent
that.
change. This is a change since Shadowbringers.
I was
Yeah.
not prepared for that. Like I always thought Monk was like a single target only class.
Well, honestly, so was Dragoon.
Dragoon still doesn't do great at AoE.
Dragoon does fine at AoE.
Not compared to anybody else's AoE right now.
I don't know. Samurai. I would say that Samurai and Dragoon are about the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, and the problem is like as Samurai, you're wasting your time if you're trying to AoE. Just burn the hardest target. Like
See, also Ninja. I don't think Ninja AoE is like.
Ninja AoE is
Ninja
actually
AoE
pretty
has
good.
significantly significantly from
like,
what it used to be.
Because you basically have the fire spell, and then you've got Fire Frog,
Got your
and
big
Fire Frog is a lot of damage out in a short period of time.
But Phantom Knives was awful,
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah.
but it has a follow-up now that isn't awful. So I don't know. I still have not gone back to play Ninja since it's got its updates. So
It was enjoyable.
I can't speak a whole lot about how it works.
My Ninja is a higher level than my Red Mage right now.
I don't know the names of anything, but basically, like, I know the pattern of buttons to make various spells.
It does not help that Ninja, like Samurai, has almost completely untranslated abilities.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the names of any of the abilities, like, to be honest.
Fire 4.
I just, like, I know what buttons they're on. I know what their icons are. I place them in similar spaces. Like, all the healers basically have a similar layout.
It's true.
As someone who does regularly know what the names of all of the abilities are, I still mostly don't know the names of Ninja or Samurai abilities.
I know the names of abilities I like pressing.
I mean, Midari Setsugeka is an ability that exists.
Yep. Also Fire 4.
Okay, the abilities that it's fun to say the name out loud when you press the button. Medica 2.
That's going way back.
It is.
What is the name of those abilities in like the Japanese version? Is it Fire 4 as well?
Fire 4 is Firaja.
Faraja, yeah.
They
I'm so
actually
mad that that's not what
commented
it is
about
here.
this on the live letter yesterday. They're adding more fire spells, and he said he had to go talk to the Final Fantasy brand manager to try to figure out what they should be called because they haven't gone past a 4th level spell before. And I think he said he chickened out and is going with High Fira.
Mhm.
Great.
Like, I kind of wish we got those names here.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
liked the Final Fantasies where they're Faraga, Fira.
Mhm. It's like I mean, and they're really no more difficult to understand and remember than 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, the name just kept getting bigger as you went up.
Ra, Ga, Ja. Easy.
No information about the Island Sanctuary, so I'm assuming that's a 6.1 or later thing. Like, we've not gotten any information about Island Sanctuary leaked out yet, other than that it was part of the expansion in the initial reveal. So, like, I expect that and the Ishgard housing will be 6.1, 6.2, something like that. They did announce that data center transfers or data center travel is disabled at the beginning
Yeah.
because congestion.
They are concerned that it would be too much, and they're probably right.
They're absolutely right. I mean, we're still having pretty decent queues every night. I mean, they go quick, but
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, there's this many people playing 2 months out. It's going to be nuts at launch.
well, I mean, because like normally my pattern is to return like a few days before the expansion and play an expansion and then be gone for a while. I'm not normally playing at this point in a Final Fantasy life cycle.
Mhm.
And I know there's lots of people that play like that, so it will be a busy time when it launches.
Hopefully, all the lessons that they've learned over the years means we won't have another Raban Extreme.
I mean, at this point, we have, as of recording, the day we're recording, we have 62 days until the 19th. So just at 2 months, roughly. I don't know. I'm trying to think if there were any other big things that came out of it that I'm missing.
Do not be upset when the numbers come out and your tank and melee and physical range numbers look lower.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
There's a squish.
Yeah, there's. I don't know what I'm at. I'm well over 100,000 on my tank right now, and when it showed the paladin, it was sitting at like 40,000 ish. So it's going to be a significant numerical squish. But
Beyond that, also they said they're changing basically the physical damage calculation. So potencies look like they're going to go down for all classes doing physical damage currently.
if it makes it easier to interpret the gear, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. Well, I guess they're increasing the effective echo in undersized parties, presumably so that the
So
stat
you can
squish
continue to
doesn't.
solo old stuff despite the stat squish.
Yeah, they thought of that.
I've lived through several stat squishes at this point, and for the most part, life goes on. I'm not super concerned. It did crack me up that they specifically said they were doing it because they were concerned about the numbers in the packets going across. The intro screen was freaking gorgeous. I mean, it looks like probably their most complex so far because it has like an animation of a moon coming across.
Mm-hmm.
I love the. It is difficult but iconic to manage to make running around on the moon look like you're on the moon. And like, I don't know why we're running around on the moon or how that's even working, but whatever. The shots where people are running around on the moon like look really good.
Yeah. I mean, like there's that, it has that same visual appearance that like shots of the Moonlander do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Final Fantasy IV is one of my favorite Final Fantasies, and
Yep.
I loved the moon, so I'm all there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Technically,
know
based
what
on-
not
Based on Final Fantasy IV, the moon should be full of behemoths
should be.
holding out hope.
They were painful.
It's been a long time since I've played Final Fantasy IV.
Does kind of make me wonder if Fusuya is going to make a appearance.
I'll be really surprised if they don't give us some version of him.
I mean, we got Matoya pretty much straight across. Creepy old dude, incoming.
But we already have a character who's like entirely beard.
It's true. That's the one thing I remember the most from the sprite was just beard everywhere.
Is the thing.
Maybe Fusoya is immortal and is who the sprites remember.
Maybe.
Similar to a Good King Mugumog situation.
Yeah. I mean, Ramu is noticeably more humanish than the other summons. Perhaps he's based on a real person. Perhaps that real person's still around on the moon.
I'm there for this. That's gonna be great. I am absolutely going to level Reaper. That job looks nonsense.
That job is so emo.
It is, but it's so cool. It's so cool.
Belle's inner 16-year-old goth is so excited.
I want to start hanging out at Hot Topic and preparing myself for this. It's going to look hilarious to have a little emo potato.
It's so emo.
They specifically called it an emo class on Live Letter.
I mean, yeah. They know what they're doing. They're
Like,
aware.
oh, you thought the Dark Knight was emo? Oh, no.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
I'm also looking forward to Sage. Who doesn't want to be a Gundam?
Right.
Most of the people in Gundam shows.
Ouch.
It's a fair cop. It does look super cool.
And it has cool noises. Everything sounds like Tron.
Yeah. I'll be honest. The thing that I'm most looking forward to for the expansion, more than anything else, is rolling up in Charlan and demonstrating my legal prowess.
Please.
Because clearly they need this demonstrated.
I mean, it worked for us before. Like, I am the best lawyer.
Yeah.
I had to ask them a question.
Everywhere has trial by combat. In fact, it seems extremely unlikely that Charlan would have trial by combat, but you know.
But do they have a choice?
Yeah.
If they don't have trial by combat now,
They will. I'm way more interested in going to Thavnair or whatever.
Ratzatan.
Yeah, Ratzatan.
Yeah.
Because that city looks nonsense in the drawings. Like, I want to see it in person.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Have they said which one is the one we go to first?
I don't think we have a clue.
No idea.
I expect it to be kind of like Stormblood, where we're popping back and forth between destinations. Well,
I mean, I assume that there, one will be the leveling hub and one will be the end game hub. I'm curious which will be which.
As much as they've
would make more sense as a place for a market board to exist, so that implies it is the leveling hub. But I don't know.
Yeah, like I just can't see us ever getting to a place of Charlene being cool with us.
I mean, you could have said that about Ishgard.
About Yulmore?
Ishgard.
Yeah, Yulmore too. Yeah,
that too.
So Yulmore.
In the long run,
being useful.
In the long run, I'm glad we didn't burn Yulmore to the ground.
Only barely.
I mean, where else would we spend our tombstones? They got the good stuff, apparently. I don't know. I'm amped. I'm ready for it. Like, there were enough little cool things about every class that, like, I'm looking forward to the 80 to 90 leveling.
I am still getting caught up right now, so I'm on. I think I just started 6.2 or 5.2. 5.2.
You got a lot of interesting and weird stuff to go through.
I know.
Yeah. But also, I think 5.2 is a low point.
It is.
Oh boy, because I was like, 5.1 is a lot of me. Go here, talk to this person, do a cutscene. Go here, talk to this person, do a cutscene. Go here, talk to this person, do a cutscene.
5.3 realistically is where it starts to ramp up and you get closure for this expansion and begin to lay the groundwork for the stuff leading up to the next expansion.
Yeah.
And also has a few quests that aren't just go here, do a cutscene.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess, like, I am getting to the point where I'm like, maybe we need to, like, push for more more voice acting in MSQ, because when you're trying to do it like this, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of go here, talk to this person, do some reading, and I'm like, I wish I could just sort of sit back and enjoy this rather than click, 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 click. Okay, I wish I could watch this like a movie rather than having to click through. Or I wish that they knew how to tell stories that also involved gameplay. Which they do. They clearly do. It's called all of their dungeons.
More than that, I'd say. But yeah, there aren't any of those in 5.2.
No, I mean, there's several duties that are not dungeons.
I think
Some of
that
which
when
are
they-
rather interesting. Like a few of the ones during the actual Shadowbringer story are really cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Like when they do solo duties, I think is the point at which they blend gameplay and storytelling.
And those have been varied.
Yeah.
And I think that some of this content has suffered a bit because pandemic and them adjusting to throwing out content during the pandemic. So some of the content has been a lot of head popping between people as they tell the story, whereas maybe it would have been told in another way because like everything I get the impression is in the Japanese studios, the pandemic did a lot to screw with their flow.
I would imagine so, yeah.
While this is definitely true and was a large impact as to the timing of when a lot of things came out, 5.2 kind of came out in February of last year. Like,
Yes.
I do think
So
this
not a
is
lot
their
of
weakest
excuse.
patch
Yeah.
among the post-Shadowbringers patches, and it was before the pandemic was really a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Enough time had passed. I was sitting at 5.3 when I came back, so I had already done a lot of that earlier.
5.3 was the one that got a very, very long delay for pandemic-related reasons. But I also think 5.3 is excellent, brings a lot of closure to some things. Also, if I remember correctly, contains the Gundam quest,
Yes.
and also an excellent trial with excellent music.
Very.
Yes.
I will say though, 5.4 and 5.5 both have amazing dungeons.
Yeah, we're actually at a point where, I like both the dungeons that are in the Expert Roulette. I'm fine with either one coming up. It's nice.
I mean, I would say the last dungeon was probably my favorite dungeon of all time. I really like a lot of the fights. I am just
But
hoping
also
that
corpses.
I'm just hoping I have enough fortitude to finish my goal and get the last 5 classes to 80.
I mean, if you aren't having fun playing a particular class, you don't have to do that.
The weird thing is like I actually am enjoying them. It's just I've leveled a lot of stuff in a very short period of time.
Mm-hmm. And also, if you do that, you get tomorrow mount.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone needs a camel burb.
Yeah. they're-
Yes.
But you
He's
also
great.
still get that even if you don't do it in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I just kind of set this out as a goal for myself. I don't know why, because it doesn't really mean anything.
Yes, but the sooner you get your Amaro mount, the sooner it can learn to talk.
Exactly. It takes time. We learned it takes time.
Speaking of time, have they ever actually said like what the timeline is from like you starting in your starting city state to like now?
There've been some information in places. I feel like I dug into it a while back, and like a couple of years have passed. I think it was because people were asking like, okay, so wait a minute, how old are Alphanor and Alisay now? Are they? And I think they're actually 18 now, and were 15 or 16 when this all started.
Actual 15 or 16 or Elvish equivalent of 15 or 16?
Actually 15 or 16.
Actually,
Oh, so they really are children.
yes. Like that's why they're so small. One of these days, they will like grow to
They'll hit
be
a growth
giant
spurt.
giraffes like all the other elves.
That's one of the things I have found the funniest this week is someone there's several different AI packages that will basically like take a picture from a game or something and try and create a human that looks like that. And when you do Alizé or Alphino, it's a kid. Like, it comes across as a little kid because their cues of, eye to mouth to nose ratio is that of a child.
Mm-hmm.
And it like drives home just how young they are.
Yeah. No, they are 100% in-game children. And like, I think that's part of why they were allowed to, ditch out of Charlene and, come to Eorzea, because it's kids being kids.
I mean, they were also with a particular person of very important renown.
It's true.
The official word seems to be, we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting.
Because like 5 years passed between Bahamut and everybody poofing back into existence, right?
Yeah, that's well established. That's a 5-year gap.
Like, that one we know. What we don't know is how long it's been since that to the events of like the current expansion.
Right.
Because this is not a game that believes in the stasis of time for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume at least a year per expansion.
Like it seems like a couple of years, but it's real loose.
Because a lot of events play out that would take actual time. I mean, I realize we have point-to-point teleportation, but...
Yeah, but only for some of us.
Exactly. It seems to be totally varied whether or not that's taken into account. Because, like, every time we apparently need an airship, but we could have just teleported there?
Well, we don't have aetherites, or we're not attuned to the aetherite yet.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you can't teleport to somewhere for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember correctly, like, if you aren't the Warrior of Light, you can't constantly teleport all the time anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing that you can do occasionally, and then like you need a long rest.
Right. And like there's one scion that can't use that magic anymore, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So, because we're a limitless font of ether, we can
Yes.
do all sorts of things.
I mean, yeah.
That is one of the things enabled by that, yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
we've got
Look.
all the ether. Got ether to spare.
We're a primal, okay? There is no way the Warrior of Light is not a primal. Like, we could say it any way we want to, but we're a freaking primal.
I mean, are we a primal?
We were summoned forth by the hopes and dreams of Eorzea.
Wasn't the whole thing in Endwalker that maybe our origin is more complicated than that?
Yeah, it is, but primal fits too.
Also, some things you're about to get into in the Shadowbringer storyline also hint at that.
I was gonna say,
there's more of that.
I thought the Shadowbringers, like the not post credits stuff, is.
Oh, you're gonna hit a lot more of that in just a second.
Hey, by the way, maybe you're from this whole Asian place, and
We should do a spoiler show.
Yeah.
I thought we did a spoiler show about this Shadowbringer stuff.
We did. It's been a while.
We did, but like, there's enough stuff that's happened in between that,
I
like,
need to catch up.
I think maybe tail end of October-ish, we should do a spoiler show.
Okay.
There's so much story in the Shadowbringers patches. So much. Like they are solidly setting up the end game.
It's going to be so good. Like, I don't know where it's going, but it's going to be good. I have faith.
You believe in the Warrior of Light?
I mean, I still think, like, I don't know. Well, I don't want to get into it too deeply because spoilers, but like, I think they have set the groundwork from this from the ARR content. Because there's two forces that we've already encountered, and like, I think it all ties back to that. But anyway, we should probably move on to another topic. Speaking of timey-wimey nonsense.
Loops
and death.
Oh, man. I mean, this is an arcane game. So this is an arcane game. So it's already sitting pretty high in my estimation. I think I'm on record multiple times as being really into it when a game has a thing that it's doing and leans all the way into it unapologetically. And like, boy, does Deathloop lean all the way into what it's doing unapologetically.
Yup.
And like, I'm so here for it. I can understand bouncing off of some of the stuff that it's doing, but what it's doing is so neat and so interesting. And it's deeply weird. Like, you can pick up the premise from the trailers, but the premise of Deathloop is you are stuck in a time loop where everyone's trying to kill you. Why? And particularly, and you have a particular nemesis who is goading you remotely via radio the whole time. And like, why are you there? What's going on? Who is she? What's the deal here? What are you even trying to do? And why is this puzzle that that you're kind of unpacking in the game? And it hits the incredible...
Also, how did I leave myself all these notes all over the place?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of my, it's like semi-spoilers, but it's like one of my favorite notes from the very start of the game is they do a bunch of tutorial stuff, and it is a game that is in many ways inspired by Dark Souls without being really anything like Dark Souls. It has little like floaty text notes that you can see that are like, I mean, they start as the tutorial, but gradually extend into like other stuff, thoughts, comments to yourself, notes. And like the very first thing, when you see one of these things floating, your character is like, what is that? Am I the only one who can see floating words? Is anybody else seeing floating words? Oh, that's great. This isn't a good start. Did I hit my head? Like, this is probably bad. What's happening here? But it does the thing where like an arcane game, I'm expecting it to be a stealth game, and it can be if you want it to be. It leans way more into do things how you like than Dishonored did, because Dishonored's like, yeah, you could go murder everyone, but the game is gonna get harder and it's gonna not be as good an ending. Whereas this is like, whatever. There was one section where it was like, I need to pick out my target from a bunch of people who all look alike at a masquerade ball. I could go through all of that trouble, or I could just kill everybody at the party. Yeah, let's just do that. That's fine. One of them's the right one. And the game's like, yep, that's fine. Mission accomplished.
Did you ever figure out which one it was?
Yeah, I finally figured out which one it was and could like pick them out, but I never found a way to take them out that didn't involve killing everybody at the party. So I just was like, all right, well, guess we're going loud.
Everyone.
So that's the problem that I have with like the stealth versus going loud option. Like if you go stealth and you somehow have a failure in the middle of your stealth, things are going to go real bad real quick, or at least they did for me every time that I failed at stealth while I was in the middle of trying to slowly take things out. Because like, this is a game where it feels like you're not real bullet spongy yourself.
You can be, but it takes a bit.
Yeah. You can't take that many hits.
Yeah.
So like for me, if there was a room full of guys, like if there's just one guy, I can easily disable that one guy and get rid of him. But if it's like an entire room, I'm going to set up a vantage point and start firing, because then it's on my terms.
Yep.
I can bait them down an alleyway or something that I can quickly dispatch them. And like, had I tried to sneak around, I usually fail. And then I'm in the middle, half exposed, and just get swarmed.
Yeah, there is a whole ton of customization that you can do, like possibly even more than Dishonored.
I would absolutely say it is way more. So one of the things that I don't know if you're going to get this or not, but there's a certain aspect of this game that reminds me of the Wolfenstein / Doom era of level design. Whereas like each level is a set piece and you're trying to traverse that set piece, but inside of that set piece, there's a bunch of alternate routes.
Yes.
And in it, or probably a Hitman level is a better equivalency, because
Deus Ex.
Because like there's not just like, oh, here's the high road path, here's the low road path. I don't know. Like I've because of one other aspect that I will complain about later, I've had to do several of these levels multiple times, and each time I've taken a slightly different path and ended up with a totally different outcome.
And like realistically, you're gonna play. It's one of those things where and the game tries to gently let you know, like, look, you don't have to explore this place. You're gonna be back here. Don't try to squeeze. Don't hop into a level for the first time and try to squeeze every last drop out of it, because you're gonna be back here. And like, it's true. It's a time loop. You're gonna be back in these levels a lot. And the fact that they're so, it's not just that they're really open, it's that they're really intricate, and there's lots of little like once you get used to them, there's lots of little pathways to take. And that's something that's in true in stealth games, where like the first time you play through a stealth game, you're like exploring the level, but when you know the stealth game real well and are replaying it, you can just like zip straight to the target, handle it, and leave. And you're just like, you feel incredibly masterful. But like, you don't ever get there unless you start over and replay the stealth game. And like, I don't do that often. Whereas with this, with Deathloop, because I'm going to the same places repeatedly for reasons, often to do different things, I really get to feel out these levels. And so at a particular culminating moment, I'm just zipping through, like, this is where I need to be. Here, here, here. Bing, bang, boom. Done. Next.
The only thing that feels kind of bad about that, though, is because it is so open, the game lets you go places that you have no way of resolving yet.
Yes. It's I have been hesitant to say that it is also Metroidvania inspired.
But it kind of is.
But it kind of is, because you are frequently coming to places and being like, I want to open that safe. I want to get in this door.
Yeah, and I don't have the answer to this.
How do I get in this safe? What's behind this door? And like, the answer is somewhere. And usually it gives you, like, if you find something that is like relevant or significant, it'll ping a little. There's the guy with the thumbtacks board. You basically have the thumbtacks board as a UI element that you can kind of like, okay, what have I found out? What knowledge, what have I learned? And how can I piece it together into something coherent? And that helps a lot with like, okay, I know this, but why do I care? Or like, I want to do this, but how? And then they have a bunch of side stuff that's like, hey, do you want to do better? Like, do you want to do this like weird little side thing? There's a ton of weird little side stories, and a lot of those will get recorded as well. And there's a bunch that I didn't figure out. But there's a lot of hidden weird little things. And it's been super cool to play. I got to credits, and my experience finishing the game made me instantly want to jump back into it, because I was like, wait a second, what if I'd done that differently?
Well, like, one of the prime things that I can think of as the multipath thing is, like, early on, there's this security camera, and I know of at least 5 ways to get past it that are vastly different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's probably more than that, but like, you can brute force it and just run when the beam's not out. You can go up over it. You can go around it.
You can hack it.
You can hack it. Yeah.
The game gives you 2 shockingly useful tools immediately. 3 shockingly useful tools immediately. You get double jump.
Every game should have double jump.
This game believes you immediately. It is the very first thing you can get, and it's impossible to miss.
I do appreciate early double jump.
I thought that was a pre-order bonus.
I didn't think I pre-ordered it. Maybe I did.
Yeah, but the pre-order window was like still open when it launched. Like, I want to say, because like you got a artifact immediately as part of the pre-order, and if you went for the super ultra deluxe version, you supposedly have 2 sitting there waiting on you.
Oh, I didn't get any special. I didn't get any special version, but I don't know.
Right, like just a normal one had a single artifact.
That would be a pity if the double jump artifact is a pre-order thing, because like just like start the game with double jump. This teaches you how to use artifacts. Also, it's great.
I'm finding other articles also describe it as the first rare character trinket you find. So,
yeah, like,
you know, it might not be a pre-order thing.
I don't really remember what I wasn't paying like super close attention to any pre-order bonuses I might have gotten. But it's like, it starts you with double jump. It starts you with the hack-a-majig, which is like, it's like a walkie-talkie that's got all kinds of weird stuff taped to it that you can use to hack devices, and eventually other stuff. And your grenades. Like, you start with some grenades, and it took me a while. The game didn't sort of glosses over that the grenades can do multiple things, but those grenades can do a lot. They are your regular like throw in, wait for it to explode grenades. They can be laser mines, prox mines, and remote detonators. And I think if they're a laser mine or a prox mine and you throw it, they explode on impact. Like, it was really cool. I was like, there's so much to do with this grenade. Like, you could set up horrific traps for people. And then of course there's a ton of character customization as well as a ton of gun customization. So I'm like constantly getting upgrades for my guns and cycling through them. And it's got a semi-Borderlands style, here's a fancy gun with a fancy ability on it. As you progress, you get better and better stuff. If I had a complaint, I think that I hit the point where I had more than enough guns and mods and like powers that I needed pretty early. And it was still like I switched them around a little bit based on what I was doing, but I didn't necessarily always feel like I needed to. But you can play in a lot of different ways. I threw on, at one point when I was having trouble with a section, I threw on like a whole bunch of shotgun style weapons and a thing that made my melee kills give me health back and a bunch of damage reduction and health regen things. And just like waded through enemies. I felt invincible. It's really neat. It was really neat to me, like how much you can switch stuff. But really the thing that elevates it to this is probably game of the year for me is the dialogue is amazing. The dialogue and the music are amazing. The writing of every character is good. You get a sense of these characters. They play around with the classic stealth game. They play around with the classic stealth game, like you can overhear people's conversations, and for reasons that the story reveals, the people on the island, even the ones who are trying to kill you, are from all kinds of weird walks of life, and so like there's some real weirdos, and there's just like there's like great weird little vignettes. I was sneaking around and there's some dude jamming on a guitar and a bunch of people dance, like standing on a rooftop jamming on a guitar, and there's a bunch of people below him dancing. And then there's somebody, and I was like, okay, that's kind of a cute little vignette. But then like a little ways over under a bridge, there's a couple of people smoking, and one of them is like, yes, see that asshole? I can play better than him. But when I'd gone there, when I was wandering through before, and I needed to get close to that building, and so I just killed everybody around that building, when I snuck past that bridge again, the dialogue was different. Like the two people smoking were like, the one guy was like, yeah, that guy had it coming.
I've heard that there's a lot of things that factor in based on whether it's daytime, nighttime, where the placement of specific other NPCs are.
Yes. it's got an incredibly intricate web of little things that can make a difference in what you're doing, or just it's not necessarily what you're doing, but it changed you. I feel like I have an impact on the environment. It reminds me a lot of playing Elsinore, where Elsinore was like you could make these tweaks and then all of these other things play out depending on how they impact people. And this had a really similar thing. It's also like Deathloop only has 4 levels, asterisk. It's got a little bit more than that, but whatever. It's got 4 levels and 4 times of day. So there's basically 16 levels that are on the same template, but they vary hugely and like completely different layouts. You enter and exit from different points. There's different people in different places doing different things at different times of day in every area. And a lot of times what you're trying to do depends on, okay, this person's going to be here in the morning. So if I need to do something, if I do something here in the morning, then this other person who's waiting for them in the afternoon will do a different thing, which would be absolutely maddening to try to follow and keep track of, except that you've got that really handy, thumbtack board equivalent to help you keep track of everything that's going on. And even when you're like selecting a level, it's like, hey, that X thing is happening here at this time. Because if you're trying to do a time loop story, especially one where you're fiddling with it, that becomes a nightmare to keep track of really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's also the case for the Outer Worlds, right?
Yeah. Yep. And this Deathloop does not. Deathloop wants you to be having fun to jazz, not poring over your scrawled notes. I think I read a review that was somewhat critical in that it said that it kind of leads you by the nose a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually good for what it's doing, because it would be really frustrating to think you were in the right place at the right time and then have to replay multiple levels because you clicked wrong and were in the wrong place. You're like, oh, I confused this level with this other sort of similar level and went to the wrong one, but it means that I was in the wrong place for all of my carefully laid plans to click in. Ugh, now I'm frustrated. And at no point, like even when I was playing levels multiple times, at no point was I frustrated by like, oh, I did this wrong and I have to restart this loop. This is dumb, which also hard to do in a time loop game.
So there's the Nemesis system, right?
Yes. This is also really fun. I played a little bit of it, but like in each level you have, or you're trying to hunt down 8 people, 7 of which are found normally in levels, and the 8th will semi-randomly try to come and kill you in whatever level you're in. And you can set this is either an AI controlled character or a player controlled character. When you start the game, you can choose to play basically single player mode, like you're playing as Colt, who's your main character, or you're playing as Juliana, the Nemesis. And if you're playing as Juliana, then anybody who's set up their game to allow invades from anybody, it'll pair you up with one of those people and drop you into a level. And you want to go and take out the player, which is not easy. The player is mostly more powerful than you are and has 3 lives. You have 1. But you can also just set it to friends only mode or, not. And then it's just an AI controlled character that pops in periodically.
I appreciate that middle ground.
It's a really good. I really like that. I really like the friends only middle ground. Just because I think that makes the whole thing more interesting. I have played as Juliana, and boy, it is not even.
That's also largely true in like Dark Souls games as well.
Yeah. Because it's like, yes, do I aggro enemies? Mostly no. Does that necessarily make it easier? Also no. I am way more limited in my power level compared to a kitted out player. And I have to be able to beat the player 3 times, and they only have to beat me once. which means that I did turn it on to public mode and try it a few times, and I did have a few players invade me when I was on the normal level, but like I get enough warning, and once I know the levels well, I'm like, I know where I'm to ambush you, and also you don't know where I am. You also, as Juliana, you cannot insta-kill Colt, but Colt can insta-kill you. Because like you can sneak attack people as Colt and take them out in just like if they don't notice you. Juliana cannot do that to Colt. Colt can do that to Juliana. My very first game where I invaded somebody, I was like looking for the player, and then I was just dead. And I was like, I've been outplayed. Well done. But I also appreciate that you can just opt out of that system.
Yeah, that's definitely something that if I were to turn it on, it would be after I had played quite a bit and learned how the game works.
Yeah, exactly. Which is the other thing, is that the game gives you quite a bit of time to do that before actually letting that be possible, which I think is also a good move. Because even just having the AI Juliana pop in and wreak havoc can be really disruptive if you are doing a, delicate stealth run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I imagine so.
But it makes for like an interesting periodic spoiler, and it was never so disruptive that it just like threw me off my entire thing that I'm doing. And also, you are fabulously rewarded for taking her out, especially if you were also taking somebody else out.
So I feel like it's about to the time where I should talk about the one thing that almost made me refund this game.
Would this be the technical problems that I've heard?
No, it's the fact that there's no save game. You can't save the game anywhere in a level. Your only option is to go back to the start of a level and start back over.
Ugh.
Yeah,
there is no pausing the game either, apparently. So I thought, okay, well, maybe this will work better on a console, because consoles now have intricate systems that allow you to pause a game indefinitely and return to it. Xbox Series X does it, PlayStation 5 does it. I thought, okay, well, maybe that works that way. But apparently, if you try and do that on a PS5, your character is just sitting there and it will eventually get killed by the nemesis. So the problem with this is I get interrupted a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to bail out of things to go take care of something. And in that scenario, I would save and load it back in whenever I get back. And that's just not an option here. I am not big on save scumming and reloading the same save over and over and over. I'm not interested in that. I only really save as a checkpoint to go back to. To save out so I can return later at another date.
Yeah.
And this game doesn't support saving in single player. And all I really wanted to do, I'm okay. I get what it's going for, is that it doesn't want you to reload saves and keep trying it until you get a perfect run. All I want is the GBA era save and quit option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I need to get out of here now. Let me save out and I'll return whenever I get a chance. So it's been frustrating having to repeat things, because the second area I repeated 4 or 5 times because I kept running into a situation where I gotta bail, and then I restarted again. And it's really frustrating. And I get that it's the thing that Tam actually likes about the game is they're really committed to this concept.
Yeah, but they could allow some a suspend save system and still maintain that.
Yeah.
When you save the game, okay, you've saved the game, and you can, when you come back in, it loads that save, and that save is gone now.
And I'm fine with it being a self-destructive save. When you load it in, it destroys the save.
Yeah, and if you have it set so that you're not having randoms invade you, then
it should just let you pause.
It should just let you, pause and or quit. But
that too.
and
yeah,
it's something that I interrupted periodically, not probably as often as Bell, but one of the things that I noticed was the first few times I was in each zone took like 10 times longer than the later times. And so most of it, once I hit the groove of playing, it's like I'm hitting a checkpoint every 5 or 10 minutes, but it takes a bit to get there.
Yeah, and that's the problem that I have is like even in a Dark Souls game, okay, in theory it's a similar thing, but I can go back to a campfire at any point. Like even if I'm just started to run and I'm going for a thing, and if I need to bail, I can quickly backtrack, save out at the campfire. Yes, I'm going to have to fight through everything again, but whatever little progress I picked up, I can keep by saving out at that point. And what frustrates me is like, okay, so I've had to collect the same loot 5 times because it's an early level and I'm still gaining stuff. So I know I have to go to this building so I can get this gun, so I can go over here and get this thing. Like the first time it was interesting, and the second time was like, oh Jesus, let me crit path this so I get back to where I left off. And it wasn't as an enjoyable experience.
It's like the Mario level I was playing earlier today that didn't have a damn checkpoint.
But I just think it's a short-sighted decision on their part. Like maybe they think everyone's going to be playing in players invade players modes, but also I don't know if they know their players.
I mean, if they're going to allow you to not use players invade players mode, then like why not let you pause? Like people have other people in their lives that need things sometimes.
I wonder, part of me wonders if definitely after a certain point, there's an early kind of exploration phase through the levels, but then when you're actually going to levels with zones, I think that the problem of the checkpoints, like you're really just not losing that much progress if you have to go back. But that early exploration is like, hey, I wanted to pick up all of this stuff. I feel like I need all of this stuff, but that means I'm spending a lot of time in this level before I can leave it. I wonder, given how complicated the levels are and how many interlocking parts are there, I wonder if saving state is just like a mess.
That's a possibility too. It could be that the save would just be gigantic. Because I know that's a problem that I've been playing Hard Space Shipbreaker again recently, and one of the minor issues with that game is if you save the game and quit and come back while you're in the middle of salvaging a ship, you just lose that ship because it does not save the state of the ship you were salvaging. And they've stated is like, yeah, the save games would be like gigabytes. They'd be massive.
And I wonder if there's a similar thing going on.
Yeah, if things are really complicated with like NPCs moving around and everything. I don't know. I do that does make me like even more leery of picking it up anytime real soon. Because I've also heard that there are some technical issues with the PC version. Like
I've not encountered any technical issues.
Not wanting to run sometimes at random. I don't know.
I hadn't run into any. I haven't run into any on my system. Like the only like technical issue I've had is I had a power outage when I was in the middle of a level.
Ugh.
But
I don't use me as an estimate on how it's going to run, because like I have my stupid new system. It's got a 3080 in it, so
this is fair. I
don't know.
Powerful system.
I don't know. Like it doesn't like even come close to taxing it. So
I mean and the main place that I've seen this, I've seen a couple of people mention it, but the main one was John Scalzi talking about like, this is a fantastic game and I can't recommend it because half the time it won't let me play it.
Yeah, there's rumors of Denuvo anti-cheat. I know for certain Denuvo is in it, but I don't know if their anti-cheat product is also in it. But like there's rumors that it is, and that some of the quirky things that are happening are due to that.
People blame that a lot when it's almost never actually that though.
I know.
Like how many examples of this do we have? How many is it going to take? Like, yes, okay, this can cause issues, but probably not the cause of whatever issue you're currently looking at.
Right. Like I said, I've not encountered any issues. Like it's a Bethesda game. Like it does some weird shit at startup, like all of them do. But
I don't remember any weird shit from Dishonored games.
I don't know if Dishonored games ran on the id Tech engine. There is a thing with id Tech games at startup that, like, the first few minutes of startup is always this laggy mess, and then it just works.
Yeah.
Like, it happened to me with Wolfenstein. It happened to me with the modern Doom games. It happens with this one. I'm guessing it's loading assets or something while it's starting up. But once it's running, it's fine.
Well, I'm a little extra leery of any modern game where, like, there's some reports of technical issues because, you know, I'm still running a reasonably old graphics card at this point.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm not going to be able to run the newest, fastest at its, you know, at top quality. And
it's not reasonable to get a modern graphics card though. So
it is not. But yeah,
situation.
like this is like Deathloop is very high on my list of games that I definitely want to play based on everything I've heard people say about it. But probably either in a few months or once I get a PlayStation 5, which seems like marginally easier than getting a new graphics card.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I got my new graphics card through a pre-built.
Yeah. Well, I don't need a whole new system. I just need a graphics card. The rest of the system's fine.
Mine was old enough that, like, I really needed a new one of everything. I mean, I had a 5th gen processor. I think even with the delayed start, we're probably at time-ish.
I think you're probably at timers a little while ago.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, any closing thoughts about anything? Yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week.
No.
Week after.
No, actually, sorry. That's right. That is a good point. There will not be a show next week because some stuff is happening. So
we all have other plans.
We will reconvene in 2 weeks. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.